ALCS, Game 1 in New York. Alex Cobb, Carlos Rodon, the pitching matchup. Bull, Jason, GJ, we have made it. We'll get back to the Game 5 heroics in a little bit, but let's focus on tonight. How do you feel about this Game 1 ALCS matchup in the Big Apple with Alex Cobb on the mound for your Cleveland Guardians?
You want to know how I feel, guys? Can we play that video that I texted you, Mike? Because this pissed me off. Play this video.
Let's take tag.
I saw this morning, and this fired me to freak up. The disrespect. Play this, please. Thank you.
Never want to say you never have an easy road to the World Series, but if the Yankees could pick and choose their opponents, I think they got the two that they would pick and choose because of the success that they've had against AL Central.
You don't have to say it. I'll say it. They have an easy road to the World Series.
It's not easy.
And, look, it's never easy, right? But this is the clearest path in 20 years.
As usual, the Red Sox was the guy that had the most common sense in that.
I'll tell you something. A-Royd and the failed Marlins owner, they can both shut the hell up, okay? And the real way to shut them up is for the Guardians to kick their ass. I tweeted this video at Jose Ramirez, who I'm sure is not going to watch it. Not that he's looking at tweets from me to send.
Maybe
but
not
the Guardians
from you,
will see it. And every fan, first of all, and I know this is hard and it's not going to happen, but I implore all of you out there, every Guardians fan in our audience, for games 3, 4, and 5.
Don't sell your tickets.
Don't sell your tickets to the Yankee fans, please. I know some people will. I know there's ticket brokers that control these tickets to some degree. Please, if you have any choice, put it out on Twitter. Tell us about it. We'll get tickets to Guardians fans. Please do not sell the tickets. The Guardians need your support. They need the crowd. This home crowd has been amazing.
You know they're going to, though.
I know. Please.
I think you'd lose the right to purchase tickets in the future if you're going to sell your tickets to the enemy.
That's it.
I mean, it's espionage. It's treason. It's fan treason.
It is.
I watched it in 2016 with the Cubs. I watched with the Tiger series. My God, I don't know if it came across on TV. It was disgusting how many Tigers fans were in that stadium.
It is, but with the Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, it's going to be a lot worse.
Well, the Yankees come in with tons of money.
I know.
Detroit's a rust bucket city like us with its own economic problems. The fact that there were that many Tigers fans scares me to think how many Yankees fans are going to fly in with their $1,000 bills, swoop up tickets, and take over Progressive Field.
But here's the bottom line, guys. These teams are evenly matched. I don't want to hear this bullshit about the Yankees being so much better. Derek Jeter and A-Rod, all due respect, I don't know how much they've watched the Guardians play this year.
Little.
Okay? The Yankees won, if it was one division, the Yankees would have finished a game and a half ahead of the Guardians this year. Now, in past years, you could have argued, well, the East is way better than the Central. And in the past, that would have been true.
Not this year.
But it's not true this year. Yes, the last team, the White Sox, is way worse than the fifth team in the East.
They had 4 teams in the race all the way up to the last week of the season.
But 1 through 4 is pretty even in the American League. Okay, you want to say the Guardians had them, but they didn't even play great against the White Sox. So they took advantage of the White Sox anyway. The Guardians are every bit as good as the Yankees. Yankees have some advantages. Their lineup is a little better. They have a little more power. They have a slightly better, in my opinion, starting rotation, the Yankees. But the Guardians have a way better bullpen. They're much better on defense, and they're much better on the bases. Both teams have advantages here. I think it's an even series. I think it's going 7 games, and I think the Guardians are going to win Game 7 in the Bronx.
Wow.
What do you think of that? Woo. That's my prediction. I believe that's going to happen. I think they're close. I think it could go either way, obviously. But to set a disrespect from those two, to say it's going to be easy,
but Bull,
that's a disgrace.
You grew up in that Petri dish. I worked in it for 10 years.
But that's not even Yankee fans.
No.
That's two guys.
It's guys that are ate up with New York culture. And here's the New York culture. And my phone has been blowing up since the last out of Game 5.
Right.
From all the Yankees fans that I've worked with and lived with and I've been friends with for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's all the same message. Can't wait to beat your ass in the ALCS. It's a fait accompli for them. I love that. Now we're the underdog.
That's right, big time.
I like being the underdog. We were the underdog in this series when we fell down 2-1.
That's right.
What happened?
Yep.
Okay, so that's fine. To your point about the lineups, gun to head, which team are you taking? It's close. It's real close, but I'm probably taking the Yankees.
Sure, yeah.
Primarily because of their superstar power.
Yeah.
Now, all of that being said, Jose Ramirez plays like he has in his playoffs past. this is over.
Probably.
We're not beating the Yankees. Period. Full stop. I had said before the regular season was over, if the Guardians want to make a World Series run, they've got to have Stephen Kwan back. He's got to be 400 Stephen Kwan. He has been.
That.
Brian Rocchio, you could make an argument this guy could have been the MVP for the series.
He was phenomenal.
Not pitching.
No, he's playoff Rocchio.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
Playoff Rocchio.
I would have been right about my bold prediction if it was based just on the playoffs.
You would have been
the
dead
All-Star
right.
Game.
And
He's
here's
been
the
phenomenal.
thing. I being able to stand 10 feet from where these guys are in the on-deck circle,
Yeah.
you get to see that. You get to look in their face. Sometimes I get a bad vibe. Sometimes I'm like, the moment's too big. With Brian Rocchio, I feel like I'm watching him at a family softball game. He is confident. The things he's saying to the in the hole hitter and to Stephen Vogt, it's unbelievable to me. I'm like, where does this come from? How are you Bucky Dent? How are you doing in the postseason what you couldn't do in the regular season?
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that to me is Hosey. Hosey, I know he had the home run. He's had some really good at-bats, too, that didn't end well, but he had good at-bats, which is key. It's simple. He's got to be 437 with a couple of home runs and 8 ribs for them because he's their best player. So, gun to head, give me the Yankees roster. But if you tell me that Hosey's going to be regular season Hosey, I would take the Guardians in this series, and I do think it's going to be a close series.
I would take the Guardians pitching staff as a whole over the Yankees.
How concerned are you guys that our biggest weapon is neutralized in this series? And I say that because you don't have 5 games in 8 days. You have 7 games in 9 days.
They've got to manage the series differently.
And you can't do bullpen games anymore.
No.
You need 5 innings out of your starters.
See, I think they're going to do it the exact same way.
It will be a fail if they do.
Where it's going to catch up to them is Game 5 at home because Game 1 and 2 back-to-back. But he hasn't really overextended these guys.
I think he's overworked Cade Smith. I think he's
I don't
overworked.
think so.
I do.
What's his pitch level? His pitch counts have been
look at the number of
around
innings
40.
he's
Smith and
thrown in the
Gaddis
series.
both threw a lot of pitches the last
Gaddis,
game.
Smith, and look, Clase too.
Clase
When did Clase have a routine come on out 3 inning save?
I thought when he used Sabrowski, that was interesting to me because
me
he got
too.
away. And Sabrowski's been good. He's
been really good.
So if
there are some questions from that Game 5, but we'll get to that.
If you extend from your top 4 relievers, if you add Sabrowski to that to make it 5, you can extend that a little bit more. If you guys are expecting the starters to go 5-6 innings, that's not going to happen.
Well, then I don't know that they can win it.
He's going to approach this the same. He's going to approach this same way that he did. The lineup's better. Like this is a better team than what they faced against the Tigers. So,
but without the days off, you're going to have to trust your starters a little. If you're going to be confident enough to trust Eli Morgan and Andrew Walter, then trust Matthew Boyd for 4 innings.
But the difference is you're trying to trust a starter to see him a third time around versus
Boyd
a reliever twice.
I would have been happy with the second
what I
time
would
around
do,
with
see,
Boyd.
against the Tigers, it doesn't matter because they don't have any standout hitters. They're all just kind of okay.
Right.
What I would consider with say all the pitchers besides.
Do Cobb tonight, Bo, because Cobb's on the mound.
Okay, so what I would consider with Cobb, and they're not going to do it, obviously, although they would have said something already probably. What I would consider is having an opener face Judge and Soto the first time around. This way you bring in Cobb in the second inning and then have him pitch 4 innings.
Start Cade Smith. Start Cade.
Yeah, it feels really desperate to me. In
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it feels way too desperate.
I feel like this. To
Cade's
me,
retired, I think, 19 of the 21 guys he's faced.
That's what I'm saying. Give the top of the order.
Most strikeouts from a reliever ever in a playoff series.
I feel like we are over analyzing the pitching. This series is not going to come down to pitching, and I know that's what usually series people traditionally say in baseball. It's the pitching. In this series, the Guardians won not because of their pitching. The Guardians won because Lane Thomas came up big.
That's true. You're right.
Because Kwan was able to get on base.
But 1A was the pitching.
But see, here's the thing. Yeah, 1A is the pitching. But in this series, as you so eloquently pointed out, the Yankees are a better team than the Tigers. You're not going to shut the Yankees out. They're going to get hits. They're going to hit home runs. So the question is, yes, you want to minimize that in terms of your pitching. But for me, the key to the series is Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor has been, we talked about Kwan, we've talked about Ramirez and how he's slumping. Josh Naylor not only is struggling, he's had terrible at-bats.
Guess what he's going to hear at his first at-bat introduction tonight?
And he ain't going to be going crazy.
Yeah.
Rocking the baby. 22 years later, it's going to come back.
They're going to be going crazy. So they're going to need him And they need, it's the others, right? It's the Rokios of the world. It's the Fries of the world, right? They need those guys to play up to the level that they played in last series or even better. And it's about the runs. If you give up a 2-run home run or a 3-run home run, you still got to come back and answer. They can't not just, you down 3-0. I need you to at least come back and chip away with that with a run. You can't go long 4 or 5
the Tigers
stretches.
did in Game 5.
That's true. It's a good point, G. Because for all the talk about the bullpen, none of the Guardians' 4 big bullpenners, and Kate Smith pitched well, and overall they pitched pretty well, but none of them were at the peak of their pitching during that Tiger series. Even Kate Smith.
No, but I would say of Cade, he gave me exactly what I expected. He gave me a lot of strikeouts.
Right, but he gave up, 1 or 2 runs?
I think he gave up
1
2.
run, 2 runs.
But
these guys gave up nothing in the regular season.
Yeah.
So they weren't
you can't expect them to
right.
That's why
throw shutouts.
What I expect or not doesn't matter. The fact is that the Guardians bullpen in that Tiger series was good. Very good, not sensational.
Yeah, I'd have him in the very good range.
But it wasn't sensational.
But I think
it wasn't as good as they pitched in the regular season.
I think it's realistic.
And so G's right. It really is about the offense and being able to score.
Well, and for that, whether it's Roki or somebody else, you can't have 4 outs at the bottom of the lineup. You can talk about Quan, you can talk about Jose.
That's why Rokio's emergence has been so key.
Absolutely.
He's the second leadoff hitter.
You can talk about the guys at the top of the middle of the order all you want, but you can't have 4 or 5 outs at the bottom of the order.
Nope, can't.
So you need something out of some. I'm not going to say it's got to be this guy, because every game is different.
Right.
Game situations are different. If Rokio hits a home run when you're down 4 and it's a solo shot, does that help you? No. If somebody gets a base hit in a tie game with runners at second and third, that's going to help you more. So it's not necessarily one guy that I'm going to circle and say, but you can't have a black hole at the bottom of the lineup, 5 through 9, 6 through 9. Right. You have to have somebody emerge from the bottom of that lineup.
I agree with that.
But I think you approach this the exact same way you did Detroit. They're going to be bullpen games. You get to the bullpen as fast as you can, and you ride these guys out.
Though, Jay?
This is their best chance of success.
You
period.
could potentially have 7 games in 9 days.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the Tiger series was you could let everybody reboot for a day.
Yes, but I don't think, because I thought he would extend guys farther than what he did because of the off days. And he really didn't. It felt like, okay, maybe you can stretch this guy to 30 or 35 pitches because you have tomorrow off. And maybe occasionally he did, but for the most part, it felt like he kept these guys to their normal limits. He wasn't asking guys to go above and beyond like I thought that they might.
I was surprised that Cade Smith came on to pitch the 3rd inning. To me, in the moment,
he's used him earlier than I thought.
That's desperate. That's desperate. First of all, I was surprised that Matthew Boyd was done. I know one time through the lineup, but this isn't the Yankees.
But he was in. They had
the
traffic.
Tigers.
They had traffic through that time through the order too.
And they look at it as
I think he faced 9 hitters.
They look at it as strategy more than desperation.
He had a couple of walks. I know they look at it as strategy. I'm just questioning. If you're looking at strategy, why would you throw Kerry Carpenter 3 straight sliders? Like, to me, that is still the big question of the entire series.
Yeah, well,
what are you doing?
I checked around on that.
Who has control of that? Who says they?
Well, Stephen Vogt's answer I didn't like after the game was over.
Well,
he basically said it's not my area.
Well, I talked to a couple different people. They said it's really not that unusual. He was trying to bury it in the dirt. Clearly he missed.
But he missed with the first 2, and he missed with the third one.
The second one was actually worse. The second one was right over the middle of the plate.
The second one I thought was big trouble.
And Carpenter just missed it.
And I can't believe he came back with it.
And they came back with it again and threw it in the dirt.
He never throws 3 straight sliders. I can't remember a time this season where he's done it.
We're really going back, but his usage on cutter to slider this year was like 4-to-1. He was 80% cutter, 20% slider. It's still a good pitch for him, but I agree. If you're going to get beat on your best pitch. But
they was hitting the cutter a little bit though.
That he didn't have good command that day.
No, that day I thought, and you pushed him past his limit. I think, did Smith throw 30 pitches?
Yes.
He had to have.
He and Gaddis both threw over 30 pitches.
So, I mean, look, it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
I really think it's fascinating, really. We've never seen anything like it.
It's leaning into the strength of the team.
He is.
We saw it when they went to the World Series in 2016.
I just know from...
Jay, we have seen it. We've seen it a lot in recent years.
We've never seen it to this extent, Bull.
We have.
No, in 16, the big thing was get the Indians 6, and it's a bullpen.
He had one starter.
Went 6. Who went 6 besides
the 3rd inning?
He had one starter and 2 relievers.
Was out of the game. team.
The Tigers did it the whole series.
Listen, they managed like twins.
Yeah.
They both managed. And you know what? They're leaning into their strength too because they're great. I'm just telling you, as someone who throws a baseball, there is recovery that you can't ignore. You just can't. And if this were the regular season, do you know what everybody would be saying right now? Man, you got to pump the brakes on this usage.
Right, but it's
We
not
did
the
say that
regular
at the
season.
beginning of the season.
And you know what? They hit a lull too. They hit a lull. And here's my fear. You had historically the most used bullpen that I can ever remember.
Yeah, but who's
You've got
remembering that? Like, nobody's keeping.
You had 4 guys with it had 70 plus appearances.
Oh, you mean the regular season?
Yeah. So I'm saying this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going off anecdotally. I've watched the playoffs since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I can never remember a time where it was suddenly routine, where they're like, here it is, 3rd inning, and the starter's out of the game.
But it's been,
and he hadn't been dinged.
But yes, I agree, and I would have personally kept in Boyd longer because I thought he was pitching really well. But that's their philosophy. They don't want to, and we're seeing this more and more. We saw it with the Tigers.
I understand.
Teams don't want these starters that aren't top guys to
I
see
get
a
that.
lineup
I
more
get
than
that.
once.
And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
My only fear is, in 3 weeks, I'm going to go to Florida. We're going to play 8 games in 7 days. We've got 5 pitchers to divvy up 70 innings. How do you do it? And there's a strategy to it. And there's a strategy to using your relievers here. When you throw back-to-back days, I don't care if it's 30 pitches, 10 pitches, I don't care. When you start tearing those muscle fibers, the recovery process kicks in, and you have to wait for that recovery before you're at 100%. Here was the stat I leaned most on coming into Game 5, why I thought the Guardians were going to win. If you looked at the splits between 4 days rest and 5 days rest, and it's not uncommon. Everybody gets worse after, when you're trying to go on a short, regular cycle. I felt that Skubal was not going to be Skubal because he was pitching on 4 days rest. The difference in his ERA was 1.99 and 3.54.
Yeah, but outside of the Lane Thomas pitch, he was lights out.
No, but listen.
Yeah.
I kept saying, the longer we go,
the
more the 4 days rest becomes a huge factor. Why? Fatigue. The analytics tell you Skubal was about to get hit hard. Here's why. This is a guy that averages 15 pitches per inning. There was 1 out. He had made 17 pitches. He was in the 5th inning on 4 days rest. You know how many pitches I videotaped in Game 5? 4. Lane Thomas was the first one. I said, Skubal's tired. He is due to, I didn't predict a grand slam home run, but I thought, let's get a double. Let's get 2 of them in, at least. I pulled my camera out and I started recording. First pitch. And also because I know Lane Thomas loves to jump on the first pitch. But to me, when you start layering the analytics and you start throwing on top of all of this stuff, Skubal's not nearly the same on 4 days rest. Now he's 5 innings in and there's evidence in front of us he is scuffling. It all added up to him. Right. I was stunned they kept him in the game and let him pitch 2 more innings.
Let me say this, Bull. Yes, are those guys going to be taxed in the bullpen? Sure. But for me, to win a World Series, you're going to need to get something. All the World Series and games you watch, there's always one guy that steps up and gives you 6 innings and you didn't even expect it to get it. Right? You're going to have a starter. I don't know who it is. If you're going to dust Lively off, if it's Gavin Williams.
Lively's not on the roster.
He's not, they didn't put him back on the roster.
They did make a change to the roster, but it's not him.
Pedro Avila.
Which I like.
And cut down the hitters.
Somebody's going to have to give you something you didn't expect to get if you're pitching back to back.
I hear you. I think there needs. I wonder if they'll find some sort of balance between what Jason's saying, that they're just going to do the exact same thing, which I tend to lean in his direction. I don't know that I agree with the decision, but I think he's probably right. And what you're saying, like, nobody's going 6 innings. We're not seeing Matthew Boyd.
I'd take 5.
But I think they might at times have to let these guys, especially Boyd, because he's been real sharp in the playoffs, let him face the lineup twice. And I think especially with an opener, you could do that and get more length from him.
Where it's going to get tricky is the 3 games in Cleveland. That's where you've had the off day yesterday.
Well, then you get 3 days in a row.
You had had the off day yesterday.
Yeah.
Everyone's fresh today, and you operate back to back just like you do in normal baseball season. So you can't extend these guys to 35 pitches tonight.
Yeah.
but they're still going to throw their normal allotment.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you add Sobrowski to that you trust and lean on, now you've got 5.
And Pedro being available too,
Yeah.
I think gives you a little bit more.
So where they're
and he's
going to
been
hit
great.
Where it's going to get tricky is back to back to back.
Yes.
The 3 games in Cleveland, because again,
I think from game 4,
you have an
on.
off day between 2 and 3, so you can operate 3. And the starters for games 3, 4, and 5, it's going to be Boyd. I think Gavin Williams. I was talking to Zach in the car about this. He thinks Gavin Williams is
then
going to
Cobb
get game
back
4.
to Cobb.
Okay, so that right now is an opinion that it'll be Gavin Williams.
Yes, that hasn't been announced.
I mean, who else could it
But
be?
Zach, yeah, exactly.
Well,
Who else
that's
is
why
gonna
I
be?
keep saying they can't avoid it forever.
Yeah.
So eventually they're going to have to pay the bill on some of this stuff, but you have to see where the series is at. But that's why. And if you look at games 1 and 2, Rodon and Garrett Cole, they've hit lefties well. I don't think Garrett Cole is the same as what Garrett Cole was in the past.
I don't either.
Still
The Royals
good.
got
But he,
him.
Very good.
but he
Got
destroys
crushed
you.
by the Royals.
He killed us.
Yeah.
Tonight is huge
Yeah.
for them, though. Tonight is really, really big.
I would say, and I think I said this about the Tiger series too. I said, it sounds like it's so simple. Game 1's the biggest game. I'm going to agree with you. I think Game 1 is the biggest game, and here's why. Partly goes back to what Jeter and A-Rod said when they were sitting at their set. They're parroting what every New York Yankees fan is saying. They all think this is over. They're going to the World Series.
Yeah.
They think it's done. I love that because when Game 1 starts, the fans won't be on the field, but their pressure will be. And if somehow you can win Game 1, now you get to play a house game money in Game 2.
You got to come up with a split.
You
have to
got to
come
get
up
a
And by
split.
the way-
and if you don't get it in Game 1, now all of a sudden the pressure, I think, switches to the Guardians.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
going into this game, it's all on New York. Find a way to win Game 1, come home with a split. Now you can win it at home.
And you know what? I know this sounds kind of crazy, but if the Guardians do lose one of the first 2 games, which, there's a decent chance of that it's going to be a split in Yankee Stadium, I'd rather them get blown out.
Sure.
This way the good relievers don't pitch in
Right.
that game.
Yeah,
if they're
put some
going to
innings-
lose a game.
Put some innings eaters out there
Yeah,
and save
yeah.
your arms. I don't want that.
Obviously, you know
either.
what I'm saying. Like,
But
if I knew they were going to lose beforehand.
if I could time it out, I would say
yeah.
give me that in Game 2.
You're right.
Where
In a
you
per-
win
know.
Game 1, Game 2 becomes a house money game.
Right.
And then if you need to throw innings eaters, you
Yeah.
do that. And you have the luxury of resting your studs 2
Yeah.
days now.
Yeah.
And then coming home to Cleveland for Game 3.
Right.
It's going to be a fantastic series.
wait.
It hasn't gone well for the Guardians. Their last 3, I believe, have gone to the Yankees. But
Beat them in '97.
it's time to end that.